Welcome to the Mindset for Runners podcast, helping you to access and unlock your true potential as an athlete. Hey everyone, it's Rob here. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to let you know about something special. Enrollment is now open for the final cohort of the Mindset for Runners course for 2025. This is my deep dive program where I walk you through step by step the exact mental strategies I've used for 17 years in ultra running to stay focused, to push through the tough patches, to understand myself as a runner and as a person, and to race with confidence when it matters most. You'll get full access to the course, access to the Mindset for Runners community, Q&A and accountability calls. You'll also get access to me to ask me anything to help you to prepare for your next event. If you've been listening for a while and you've thought, I really should be working on my mindset, this is your chance. I won't be running another course until 2026. So spots are limited, and once they're gone, that's it for the year. If you want to join us and finish 2025 mentally stronger, more resilient and happy than ever, head to robmasonruns.com.au and join us for the final cohort of 2025. That's robmasonruns.com.au. All right, let's get into the episode. Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to this episode. So glad you're here. If you're watching the video, you see I'm wearing my Coast to Kosciuszko hoodie. Just want to say congratulations to all the athletes that have been accepted this year. I don't think they've actually been released yet, so it's so exciting. Getting that email or that call from the race directors to say, we've chosen you for the race this year amongst the hundreds of people that they get applying is really a vote for their confidence in you that you can finish. They only want people who can finish the race. So for all of those who have been successful this year, congratulations. I can't wait to see how your training and your race unfolds. Quick update from me. I'm back running again. I've had a bit of a setback this year with more tendonitis. I don't know what's going on with maybe it's my aging tendons, but I've had a lot of trouble with patellar tendinopathy over the last 6 months. I came back to training. It was going really well, and the tendinopathy came back. It's been like a bit of a roller coaster for me. The last 6 weeks have been going quite well. Training-wise, I had a few personal issues that I've been working through. My best mate passed away a month ago today, so these things have really been affecting my life and my training. I'm getting back on board and not training for anything yet, but just happy to be running again and building back my mileage. And I'm dealing with grief at the moment as well and working through that. So a lot going on in my life as well as normal. But this episode is going to be, it's something that was born about 6 months ago for me, and it was in our Mindset for Runners community that we started talking about how we take on too much stuff in our lives. And it was a great discussion in the community because I was realizing personally, I was working full time, I was studying a psychology degree, I was trying to be at every one of my 2 kids' soccer training and events after school. I was coaching my daughter's soccer training team twice a week and the games. I was trying to be a good husband and good around the house and maintaining our house, have some kind of social life, as well as trying to train for an ultra myself. And I was like, have I taken on too much? Like, what's going on in my life that I'm constantly, thinking about being efficient and trying to be productive and working things into my schedule and not wanting to stop and talk to that person on the street because I could be doing something better with my time. And I wonder if you can relate to this. So I was like, what's going on that I feel like I want to experience all these things in my life, but is it at a detriment to me as my health or me as a husband and as a father? And so I started to ask these questions, and I opened it up to our community saying, what's your experience with that? And got some great responses. And I'm going to start with those responses just so you get a bit of an idea, so I want you to really relate to this topic today. So here's a few that you might just relate to. It's quite long-winded, but stay with me. Here's what I've observed in myself and others. It may feel like others might not put their hand up to volunteer, so I volunteer for things. It's easy to do it for yourself than ask others. Maybe I have no clear understanding of my capacity. Like I'm in a reactive state, so I just say yes, 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 yes. Perhaps I have no clear boundaries or orientation of what I want to be doing, so you do everything that is asked of you. My sense of self is tied to my output. I wonder if you can relate to that one. That's a big thing that came up in the literature when I was reading through the studies. Being useful, again, is a pillar of my identity. So every time I have the opportunity to be useful to someone else, I say yes. Fear of having nothing to do. Trying to create resolution. So having a feeling of chaos. So you're always trying to find the thing that will ease the feeling. If I solve this, I will be okay. So you stay busy. It's once been said by a very wise friend of mine that relief is the number one feeling that people are trying to experience on the planet. And so if we can create all these things and then we can fix them, we feel a sense of accomplishment and possibly relief. Here's a simpler thing, and this is another side of it. I don't want to make this a negative podcast because overcommitting things, you might want that richness of life and adventure and a full life and doing all these wonderful things. So this was from Kim, another person in our community. I genuinely want to do a lot of things for fun, connection with others, curiosity to have different experiences, interest in building knowledge or skills, and just wanting to participate fully in all the amazing things life has to offer. And I'm going to share a few more just snippets from this so you can get into it. I think the reason is I enjoy doing too many things and I'm determined to fit those things in because I think life should be enjoyable. I want to be able to look back at the end of it and say, wow, that was a great time, and not, wow, I survived so many years of sleep, eat, work, repeat. So here's a few more things you might identify with. Diversifying my identity so I'm not just all in one aspect of my life. For example, if I'm injured and I can't run, then I haven't lost everything. I still have these other aspects of my life. A desire to help others. It's in my values. I value curiosity, adventure, learning, self-development, and that leads to want to try everything, go everywhere, meet everyone, and learn as much as possible. And yeah, so I hope you can relate to some of those because what we're going to do in this podcast, the reason we're unpacking this is so you can maybe see it in your life. And is it something that you experience, overcommitting or taking on too much or whatever word you want to put it? It doesn't have to be a negative thing again. And I'm going to give you some strategies towards the end that are going to help you to have the awareness around, are you overcommitted? And then some tools about how to deal with it. And like all of my podcasts, what I offer you is like a platter of food. Like you can take from it what you want. If you don't like it, spit it out and try something else or take it as you will. So let's get into it. So where have I got this from? This is from a whole bunch of research studies. I can link them all in the show notes, or you can contact me. Actually, just contact me instead of me putting in the show notes. If you want to actually get the studies, if you're a nerd like me, I can send them to you. It's from podcasts, it's from articles, it's from so much stuff that I've put together as usual to make this simple for you and practical for you. So let's get on with it. Why do we, and let's use the term overcommit or take on too much. What's going on that we're doing it? So we need to look behind the scenes. It's been said that overcommitment is not a time management problem. It's a psychological issue, if you like it that way. So let's look at what it might be. Fear of letting people down. So maybe you're letting people down by saying no. You feel as though you're letting them down and they're going to have to struggle through this thing without your help. It could be at home, at work, even in your running group, for example. Saying yes when you mean maybe, right? So someone has an idea and you're like, well, I really would like to do that. But instead of it's a maybe, you automatically say yes. And that's my dog, Tilly, you can hear scratching my rug in front of me. Tying your identity to be the one who can handle it or do it all, right? I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Using busyness as a way to feel in control. This is what Tim alluded to in that earlier thing, which is feeling as though I've got all of these things going on and that if I can throw 10 balls into the air and manage them all, that I'm actually in control. So I create chaos in order to control it. I wonder if you can relate to that one because I surely can. So let's go to the light side of it. Again, like a couple of people said from the community, it's really about experience the fullness of life, saying yes to that growth, to that challenge, chasing our dreams and our holding back. And the old adage was say yes and then work out how later, right? I really do love that. It's just being careful in what you're giving your yes to. And again, it's been said, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And every time you say yes to something, we're going to get to this in a minute, but every time you say yes to something, we need to make sure that it's really aligned with our values, our purpose, our higher reason. Otherwise, when the time comes to actually fulfill and come through with your yes, that's when you go, why did I say yes to that thing? So I'm going to give you some techniques for that. Don't worry. So, yeah, it's not about you being stuck with all this. It can sometimes be that you're just so energized by it all, and you want to have a good kind of awareness of your life to say, have I got my finger in too many pies, or do I want to put my finger in more pies, right? Okay, so let's move on to some reasons you would also, what it might be costing you. So all the studies I read, there is a link between overcommitment and health. Why is that? Overcommitment can lead to stress because you switch on your fight and flight system, which fight or flight, freeze, fawn system, which I know you've heard me talk about a lot of times, and everyone else talk about in most podcasts. So what happens is when you start to handle all these open tabs in your mind, your brain starts to perceive them as a threat. It's like, I've got to do that, and that. And how am I going to actually achieve that? So it starts to be a threat. So you start to release the stress hormones to help you be in a heightened state to actually deal with all these things. Now, that heightened state can be very pleasurable. Like, I can't wait to do this. My weekend's completely jam-packed. It's going to be awesome, right? And it can also be, oh my gosh, this week I'm just completely snowed under. I've said yes to too many things, and I feel that, that stress. And so when we're in that stress state for a prolonged period, that can be caused, linked to chronic health issues. It can be, lack of sleep, for example, but it has a spiral downward effect for the long-term stress stuff as well. I'm not going to go into it right now because I'm sure you can imagine where they go to. So let's just think about, if you say yes to so many things, there's a likelihood that you could turn up a little bit half-assed to a lot of those things, if you can understand what I mean. So what do we want to do about it? So let's go into the what and the how of this kind of episode. First of all, if we can understand that it is an identity problem, we can look through some of these filters. I'm not saying these are going on for you. Like, again, it's a platter of food. If it lands with you, good. If not, let's move on to the next one. Here's what might be going on. People pleasing, right? You want to be the reliable one. You want to be the one that everyone relies on, and you want to make people feel good, and you want to say yes, and you never want to say no, because that would mean you're selfish, you're rude, you've let people down, you're not being altruistic, and you're not being giving and growing and all that. So you try to squeeze everything in that you can, but it becomes a detriment to you. And let's put it in the context of you're training for a big race. And it's really important to you. You really want this because you know that training for this race gives you, focus. It gives you commitment, gives you determination. You eat better, you sleep better. You're a better parent, spouse, friend because you're going after something that's important to you. But then you start saying yes to all these other things that aren't aligned with your training or the race. And so you start to miss a training session or not do that mobility workout or skip your strength session. No runner's ever skipped a strength session, I know. You start to do your session without intention because I've got to be at this place at 12:35, so I'm going to do my my hour easy run, but I haven't got a time to do it. I've only got 45 minutes, so I'm just going to do it at a bit of a higher tempo, and I've missed the intention of the session. Or you're thinking in your easy run about all the things that are going on in your life instead of you're breathing and dropping your shoulders and relaxing and what the purpose of that run is. You've lost the intentionality because you're in the future the whole time. Here's the next one. Fear of success, right? This can be a bit weird, but perhaps, and this is just a perhaps, you've overcommitted outside of training to avoid really going all in on it. Because if I've got all this other stuff going on, it's easy to say, you know what, I was just too busy to put the hours and the effort in. When in fact, and here's, again, don't shoot the messenger, you created the busyness because maybe somewhere inside you, you're actually fearful that if you go all in on something, you could actually be brilliant. And here's a question. What could happen if I actually gave this race my full heart? or go all in on this race. Next one's the FOMO, the old fear of missing out. So you don't want to miss out on the group runs, the party, the drinks after work, the extra project people are doing, the trip away, the weekend away, all that stuff. So yes, 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 yes. And what's really mattering to you in your life, your highest values, are suffering because you want to be a part of all of these things. Again, this is not to beat yourself up with, it's just an awareness piece that could be happening for you. So what do we do about it? And I'm going to keep this practical because I found two of the best tools I really believe, but let's go through a bunch of them and see which ones you like. So the first thing is taking a zoom out and a big picture. There's a brilliant doctor, Dr. Emily Balcetis from university, I forget which university she's been on Huberman Lab, she's been on all these podcasts, got a brilliant TED Talk. She's all about goal setting and focus and how the focus that you put into your life expands and how we can control our focus to help us. For example, in one podcast, she talks about how we can focus in the immediacy when we are running. So instead of thinking about how far we've got to go, you probably heard me bang on about this before, we're focusing on what's happening right in front of us. Like David Roche, Megan Roche would say, let's left foot, right foot it. Or let's just get to the tree. Let's just get to the path. Let's just get to the telegraph pole. And she talks about how that process and getting really focused helps us with tasks and just getting through things. And if we zoom out and say, oh my gosh, I've still got to run 30 kilometers of this race, it can overwhelm us, right? So that's a way that she can shift our focus. Now, with working out if we've overcommitted or what we really want to put in our life, what we want to take out of our life, it's about zooming out. This is what Emily Balcetis is talking about, zooming out, reconnecting to your values, your why you're doing it, and feeling those feelings to help you decide what to say yes or no to. For example, the race that you might be training for at the moment. If you can think about why you signed up for that in the first place, that's going to probably bring you to a high level of abstraction, give you more inspiration and more motivation than going to the gym to do your 5 sets of 10 squats, for example. So reconnecting with why you are doing things and how they connect to your values. We're not talking about values, like what's the most important things in life. So it might be family, work, health, for example. So then the one way of doing this is to ask everything you say yes to, does it link to my highest values? All right, and I'm only going to say yes to it. But the problem you might have and I might have is that sometimes your yes comes too quickly to actually run it through that filter. So it sounds like one of these, beautiful ideas, but in practice, you've already said yes because of the underlying things we talked about. You don't want to let people down. You want to have the experience. You want to be the one that people can rely on. You've said yes before, so that means you should say it again. Example. Practice saying no with love. We're going to talk a bit more about this later on, but these are ways that you can actually say no with love, right? So thanks so much for thinking of me. I'm just a bit stretched right now and I can't commit. This sounds awesome, but I have to say no now. If you put a because after it, it might help you and the other person understand. I can't say yes right now because I've got so much on, or because I've committed to this, or you don't have to explain to people. Your no doesn't have to be qualified with a because of these reasons. It's okay to say no, because ultimately that person will probably just go, oh, that person said no. The next person I was going to ask was John. And instead, you're tied yourself in knots thinking that you're the only person in the world that can achieve this thing for that. I'd love to help. Can we revisit it next month after my race, right? That's another way of saying it. If you hear my dog, I'm not sure if you can, she's scratching around. So what else can we say? I'm going to take you to this next piece. This is called the yes damn effect. It was first proposed by Gal Zorberman, University of North Carolina, and John Lynch of Duke University. Quite simply, they were doing these studies on these people that had said yes to something in the moment. It might be, oh, could you help volunteer for this running evening next month? And everyone's like, that sounds great. Yes, I'm in. But when the running event evening comes along, you're like, why did I say yes to this? So they called it the yes, damn effect. So yes, that sounds great. And then when you actually have to fulfill it, it's like, damn, why did I say yes to this? I'm sure you can relate to this. So what they did was, we need to talk this through. Emily Balchetis again says, the reason that we say yes to too many things is because our brain perceives future events differently than present right now events. So your calendar is probably freer in 3 weeks than it is this week, right? Just by the way that we put things into our calendar. But also temporarily, your brain thinks differently about 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years in the future than it does 3 hours in the future. So we're always perceiving that we will have more time to do things in the future. Now that naturally leads to yes, 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 right? Oh, I'm sure I'll be able to have time for that thing that you've asked me to do in a few weeks. But what happens is when the few weeks rolls around, your calendar's filled up with the things that you know, probably more important to you or day-to-day things. And all of a sudden, this thing you said yes to is now a detriment to your life. So this is the yes, damn effect. So what they've done to alleviate that is, would you say yes to this opportunity or request if you had to do it today or right now? And that way you take this temporal future thinking out of your brain and your calendar and you bring it back to, would I like to do this thing right now? And that's basically called the right now test from these two professors from the universities. All right, next one. Do a commitment audit. Make a list of everything that you've said yes to this week and this month and just write it all out. Circle what lights you up, cross out what drains you. So we're asking for an internal check here. You write out all the things that you've said yes to. So you said yes to coaching the kids' team. You said yes to organising the dinner for work. You said yes to going out on the weekend for work drinks for the person's birthday party that you don't really know, but everyone of your friends going to be there. Then you said yes to the weekend away. You said yes to volunteering at the park run. And then, so just circle the things that light you up, put a cross through the things that don't, and a question mark to the ones that you're not really sure about. And that's just an awareness thing, right? I'm not going to take you to the next point. You don't have to start saying no to the things, but maybe it'll give you an awareness of how many things you're actually saying yes to that you can't. I'm going to skip that one. Let's go to Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss has got a few brilliant strategies here. I'm going to share these with you right now. So the first thing is the not to do list. So he advocates having a clear list of habits to avoid, like answering unrecognized calls on your phone, checking email first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and agreeing to meetings without agendas. So he's saying these help you reduce distractions and prevent unnecessary commitments. One of the best things that Tim Ferriss has on his blog is a thing called a Wilson letter. This comes from a literary critic back in the Hemingway days. Pardon me for doing. I've actually got the things here. And when he does, let's just get to it. I'll just summarize it. Edmund Wilson wrote himself and the people who were going to ask him questions a letter with all the predetermined things he would say no to. And the letter read something like, thank you for your request. Edmund Wilson, it's unfortunate that he does not accept any of the following, and had reading manuscripts. It was a really long time ago, so it was like random requests for glasses of wine, like random meetings. And he listed all of these things that he was going to say no to. This is tremendously helpful for me because when I did this Wilson letter, as I was preparing for this podcast, I had all these things that in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to do this because it's not aligned with my higher values and it takes up time that I could be working on things I love, like my podcast, like my business, like helping people be better runners and, learning all this kind of stuff. So when I had them listed out, I was like, oh my gosh, I said yes to that last week. And I said yes to that, and I'm doing that in 2 weeks. Yet here they were in my Wilson letter. So obviously I have one of these people pleasing, yes. saying yes to help people out, thinking that, I'm the one that can help them, and what are they going to do if I say no? They're going to be completely lost at sea and not going to get this thing done. And so this Wilson letter, I thoroughly recommend you write it down. Here's the things that I'm going to say no to, so you have it predetermined in your mind before someone comes and says, hey, can you help me plan the annual presentation for our running club group, which you might be doing already. But if it's something you're like, oh my gosh, sure, I'll help you out. And then you've been locked into, organizing something that doesn't light your fire, you had no experience with, and it's going to take you hours and hours and hours of your time. Please don't take, if you're doing your running club presentation at the end of the year, go your hardest, and thank you for your time. Okay, so that's the Wilson letter. Now, here's one that you might not think about. Ferris says, avoid over-optimizing life. He warns that over-optimizing, so trying to streamline everything, can actually lead to overcommitment and complexity. So instead, choose fewer meaningful projects and treat them as experiments. So this example of this is having everything automated sounds great. It also means you've got more time to do more optimization, if that makes sense. So instead of going to Woolworths and spending, half an hour driving to Woolworths, an hour in the store, half an hour home, you're ordering your groceries to arrive on the doorstep. That's fabulous, but what are you going to do with that extra time? And that's what he's saying. You've got to avoid, if you've got one of those underlying conditions where you're like, now I've got an extra hour. That means I can become the president of this new startup company because I've got this extra hour. And that's what he's kind of warning you against. Okay, I've got a couple more good things. Greg McEwen from Essentialism, really interesting guy, great book. He's been on Ferris's podcast a couple of times. He's really keen on saying no as a default in a beautiful way, like a thank you for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I can't do this as your default, to avoid that yes straight out of the blocks, if that makes sense. So we're really going to, if you have a default no, or a default pause, or a default let me get back to you, or a default I have to think about it, instead of that okay, yes, as a reaction, and then the damn effect later on. Lindau, this is from an interesting article, had 5 questions before committing. Number 1, what's really involved in this? Number 2, what's the cost? Number 3, does it align with my mission? Number 4, is it on my to-don't list? Remember the Wilson letter? Number 5, could I offer a different form of yes? Now, what does that look like? I can't do that, but I could help you in another way, is a different form of yes. All right, so I'm going to start to wrap up here, but before I do, I just want to kind of bring this back to where we started. Overcommitment comes from good intentions, right? You want to do all these good things. You want to help others. You want to explore your passions. You want to look for growth and everything. But even your passions need structure, right? Even your downtime needs to be prioritized. Even your relaxing time, it has to be prioritized, because often they're the things that get pushed aside when we say yes to things. So I really encourage you to choose one of these strategies to help you. Number 1, with the awareness. Am I overcommitted? Have I said yes to things that I don't really want to do? You probably already worked out if that's happening or not. Or do I want to say yes to more of these things and no to more of these things, for example? And then really try and have a circuit breaker in for when somebody says, can you help me move house next weekend, right? Instead of okay, or yeah, sure. Maybe have a circuit breaker, which is, let me check my calendar and get back to you. Or I'm not sure if I can, I'd love to, I'll just have to confirm with you. So all you're doing there is putting pause on your psychological reactions, which could be, again, the people pleasing, the fear of missing out, the fear of letting people down, the loss of identity if you say no, feeling like you're rude, all those kind of things. You're just putting a pause on to let you accurately say, what's this going to cost me? Do I really want to help this? Do I really want to do this? Can I help them in another way? Can I get them a removalist instead of them asking me to remove, for example, or something like that, right? And having that circuit breaker is going to buy you the time and help you from the harder thing, which is saying yes and then pulling out later on. So saying, yeah, sure, I can help you move. And then the night before, you're like, I don't want to do that. And then say, oh, I can't come tomorrow. And then you've kind of let them down because you have actually said yes, if that makes sense. So once you do stop filling your life with things that are low priorities for you, and once again, I'm not saying don't fill your life. I'm saying go your hardest, making sure they're aligned with your vision, your mission, your goals, your purpose, what you want to do on this planet. Then you're going to have more time for creativity, more time for reflection, more time for training with intention. And then perhaps you could even perform to your potential. If you set aside more time for your training or more time for your highest priorities, for your family or for your volunteering for the club or the race, you're going to have more fulfillment as opposed to more achievement. And sometimes we get these things mixed up. If I achieve more, then I'll be more fulfilled. When we're really looking at what brings us fulfillment and then aiming for that target instead of just achievement. All right, cool. So I hope you got something out of this. Please take something that I've said and put it into an actionable step for you, whether even it's just a circuit breaker, whether it's the Wilson letter, whether it's the yes damn effect, whether it's thinking about temporarily how I say yes to more things in the future because I feel like I'm going to have more time and now I understand that, or something else, understanding what one of those psychological patterns might be, the people pleasing, letting people down, feeling like you're the only person in the world that can do the thing they ask them, or one of those things, just so you can understand what's going on for you. As always, I hope you got something practical that you can use. What's coming up in the community? We've got a new cohort starting on September the 1st. If you'd like to join us, all the information will be in the show notes, or you can go to robmasonruns.com.au and you can find out all the stuff about the next course. You can join our community. It's only $8 a month and you get access to amazing people in that community. We're talking about mindset, we're sharing strategies, cheering each other on, holding each other accountable to races. Every quarter we have a call. For example, the first quarter of the year we have a kickstart call to get your year all set out, your goals all set, and then we have 3 other quarterly calls where you can jump on. We'll talk about mindset, we talk about how you're going with your progress towards your race, and we do all that kind of stuff. So we've got the course which you can join, and the community which you can join, and of course the podcast. If you know someone who you would like to share this with, that would be the best way that you could help us grow the podcast and bring more stuff like this to you. So thanks for listening. I hope you got something out of it. Let me know if you'd like in the future to join the community, join the course. It's all at robmasonruns.com.au. And if you want any podcast topics covered, please hit me up on the socials. And until next time, I'll see you then. Thanks for listening to the Mindset for Runners podcast. I hope you got something practical and useful out of this podcast, or something inspiring to help you get out for your next run. If you have a question about Mindset for Runners or athletes in general, please email me at robmason.run@gmail.com and I'll answer your question on an upcoming podcast. And if there's anybody you know who could benefit from the information I share in this podcast, please share it with them. See you next time.